Hello and welcome into BTN's Take 10 podcast. This is Alex Roux of BTN. First, a quick word from our presenting sponsor, Northwestern University School of Professional Studies. If you've ever thought about a career in sports, check out the Master's Program in Sports Administration at Northwestern University. You can build your skill set and your network in evening or online classes. Find out more at sps.northwestern.edu/sports. So if you want to get a job at a place like BTN or anywhere else in the sports industry, definitely recommend checking out that program and take advantage of that opportunity. All right, now let's get into the show. This week on the Take 10 podcast, we have a very timely episode, a very timely interview, and it's a guest that we've had on a couple times before here on the show. He's one of the busiest men in sports media, and he carved out about 20 minutes to chat with us this week, fresh off major weekend and month for him. It's Kevin Kugler. If you don't know, Kevin is a BTN play-by-play announcer. He also does play-by-play for Westwood One Radio for NFL, and as I mentioned, this episode was timely. Does play-by-play, or I guess, I don't know what you call it for golf, but he does radio for the Masters as well. So he was just in Augusta this past weekend, called Tiger Woods' historic win, and a historic green jacket and comeback story. Everyone's heard about it by now. Sorry if you're sick of hearing about it, but I definitely want to get Kevin on to provide a unique angle and definitely interesting viewpoint of a broadcaster who called a historic event. And Kevin's unique also in the sense that, as I mentioned, he had a big month. He didn't just helicopter in and call the Masters. He came in from the Final Four just the week before that and called the entire NCAA tournament each weekend. And all that is coming off a full season of men's college basketball and football that he's called for BTN. So obviously didn't let Kevin catch his breath at all. Immediately demanded that he come on the show, and of course he was more than happy to. So we got Kevin Kugler coming up. After that, we have a Call for the Culture segment with producer Colleen Degnan. If you haven't heard the show before, we've been doing this segment for a number of weeks now where Colleen talks about current events, pop culture, the intersection of sports and pop culture, and we just have a good time kind of chopping it up and keeping it light. So first up, it's Kevin Kugler, followed by, like I said, Call for the Culture with Colleen Degnan. Got about an hour of discussion coming your way, and we'll get to Kevin's discussion right now. It's the Take 10 podcast chat with Kevin Kugler, and it's coming right up. Very pleased to be joined by Kevin Kugler. He's a recurring guest on this podcast who wears many hats, including as a BTN announcer for football and basketball, plus Westwood One for radio, doing NFL, college hoops, and most recently the Masters. Kevin, how are you?
I am well. It's wonderful to be a recurring guest. That means I didn't screw up too much the first time, and I'm still employed gainfully, which is always a plus. So happy to be back.
Yep, you got that distinguished honor, and I've got to ask, have you caught your breath yet? Because this last month or so, it's probably been a whirlwind for you. So just take us through what you've been up to the last calendar month, starting with when we saw you here in Chicago at the Big Ten tournament.
Yep. That's easy. So I left the Big Ten tournament and flew to Chicago, where I did the Big East tournament for radio for Westwood One. Took a quick stop in Phoenix because it was the sorority that my daughter is in, Father's Weekend. So I went down, spent a day with her, flew back home, got ready for the NCAA tournament, which I left for on that following Tuesday, the 19th. Went to Des Moines, called the first round there, which had Michigan State, Michigan, Minnesota, all three Big Ten teams in Des Moines for that. Watched those games, came back home from that, spent a couple of days preparing, went to Washington, D.C. for the next round of the tournament, got to watch Michigan State and Duke, which was one of the best games that the tournament had. Did that game, came back home, spent another day or so at home, then went up to Minneapolis for the Final Four, broadcast the Final Four with Clark Kellogg and John Thompson in the booth, Bill Walton and Jim Gray on the side for the national semifinals and the national championship game. That was on Monday, April 8th. Then got on a plane last Tuesday, the 9th, and flew to Augusta, Georgia, and then spent my weekend at Amen Corner, calling shots at 11, 12, and 13 at Augusta National. Got to have a close seat to watch Tigers return to prominence, and then back home for a couple days before we dive headlong into Big Ten baseball season back on BTN.
There you go. Pretty unbelievable itinerary. And I want to back up because I feel like the dad's weekend at your daughter's college was either the most stressful thing of the entire last month or the most enjoyable. Which was it?
It was a little bit of both because it was such a whirlwind, and it was one of those things where it's like, I'm here, there's my daughter, haven't seen her for a few months, great to see her, let's spend a little time together, and then right back on a plane to head home. So it was stressful from the whirlwind standpoint, and from the standpoint of, I know in the back of my mind I'm about to embark on the tournament. But it was fun for the chance to see her for a few minutes anyway before diving into the crazy season over the last month. So it's a mixed bag, but it's all of it's fun. It's been a great month, and it's nice to have been able to see some historic moments in sport over the last month, both at the Final Four and at the Masters.
Yeah, so you've done this trip before. You've gone straight from the Final Four to the Masters, but like you said, you saw one of the best national championship games probably ever, then probably the most historically significant Masters of all time, with Tiger Woods winning for the first time in over a decade. So, I mean, I have to imagine that combo has been topped in your career as far as two events squeezed into a week or so.
Yeah, I've done, as you said, I've done it before, but it's really hard to think of the combo being better. You know, there have been better national championship games that I've done, although not by much. Villanova, North Carolina a few years ago was probably a better game overall. Had the drama at the very end that the one this past 2 weeks ago did not. But it was a great game, and it was a lot of fun to be there, and it was so historically significant to see Virginia go all the way from their loss last year back to all the way to the top of college basketball, and then to go down. And there's not been a Masters that I've done. I've done the Masters since 2009. There's not been a Masters that I've done that had more electricity, more significance, more drama than Tiger returning to the top and winning at Augusta National for the first time in 14 years. That was something to behold. It was amazing to be on the property while that was happening, to watch and to listen to people react. And you know, the great thing, Alex, about the Masters is, and some people would say it's not the great thing, but I happen to like it, you can't have your cell phone. You can't have electronic devices on the ground. So nobody knows what's happening other than by the manual scoreboards that are at most hole locations. And my favorite thing is I'm on the broadcast, so I know what Tiger's done on a hole prior. So I'll sit there, and when I know they're going to change the score on the manual scoreboard at Amen Corner, I'll take my headset off. If I'm not on air, obviously. If I'm in the midst of a call, I won't do that. But if I'm not on air, I'll take my headset off and listen, because the crowd reacting to a score being placed on a manual scoreboard is one of the coolest things, and it's unique to Augusta National, because everybody knows it in every other arena by the time things happen, because they've got their phones, they've got Twitter, they've got the internet, they can find the score whenever they want it, but you can't at Augusta National. If they find you with a phone, they're kicking you out, and they're taking your badge or your ticket. That's not the case at Augusta National, where nobody knows anything that's going on. It's one of the most unique things in sport, and it's one of my favorite things about that tournament is that the players have to stop. You know, they'll be on 11 green and they'll put that scoreboard up and they'll stop what they're doing and look at the score, because the roar they've heard behind them, they know Tiger has just done something. It's so unique and it's so cool.
Yeah, it sounds awesome. And I'm not a huge golf fan. Like, I'll watch, but I don't watch too much golf every year. I'll tune in for the majors, and I can't remember the last time I've listened to golf on the radio. So can you explain, how does a golf broadcast work on the radio? Where are you situated? What hole are you at? And how does the action kind of flow through you and your booth?
Well, I'm up. There's a basically it's grandstand that is behind 12T to the side of 11 green, with 13 going down the fairway to your right, and that's where we have our broadcast location. So you're essentially behind a pane of glass to keep your voice from carrying down to 11 green and 12T, so that you don't disturb anybody, and you talk in your Masters hushed tones, and you get a little lower with your broadcast voice, and you say things very quietly, and then you broadcast what's happening in front of you, and then as it goes down 13 toward the green, we broadcast the rest of that off the monitor up there to 13. And we have folks at different locations. We'll have a guy at 15, 16. We'll have a guy at 17. We have somebody at 4. We have somebody at 8. And then we have, in this case, it was Mike Tirico and Charlie Reimer were our broadcast crew in the tower at 18. Much like with TV, where Nance and Faldo are in the tower on CBS, Mike Tirico and Charlie Reimer, our analysts, were in the tower for radio at 18, and everything kind of flows through them. So, Mike will say, let's go to 11, and then I'll call from there, and maybe Charlie will chime in with something that he saw, or in the case later in the day where our analyst Maureen Medill comes down and joins me at Amen Corner, and we have essentially a secondary booth of play-by-play and analyst. And then it just sort of flows through there. So when you think about how it flows on television, where it hops from hole to hole to hole, it's the same thing on radio. It just hops from hole to hole to hole, and instead of having the pictures help underline what's happening, we have to underline what's happening with more description of what's going on. So you describe the scene a little bit better. You describe the wind. You describe some of the stuff you see. The patrons are 25 deep standing behind the tee at 12 tee waiting for Tiger to hit, and have to describe how the wind is blowing and where the ball is curving. And, it's unique. I only call golf one time a year, and that's the Masters, which is not a bad way to call golf. But it's unique to me. It's a unique event for me because it challenges me in ways that nothing else does, because I don't do it very often. So it's always a fun challenge for me, especially coming off the Final Four.
Yeah, I was going to say, I actually went to my first golf tournament a couple months ago, and it was the Waste Management Open in Phoenix, and that's obviously quite a different scene than something like like the Masters, probably complete opposite ends of the spectrum. But I know you said you only call the Masters every year, but can you explain, especially for someone who doesn't watch as much golf like myself, what the fundamental differences are between the Masters and some of the other majors, and just the vibe from what you've heard or experienced?
Yeah. Well, and I've experienced the Masters a lot over the last 11 years, and talking with people who spend their season around golf, and clearly I'm not that person, but we have a lot of guys on our crew, like Brian Katrick and Mark Carnevale, who do this week in and week out on the PGA Tour. And the vibe at Augusta National, and I can tell you this from personal experience, is different than any other sporting event I've ever been to. There is a throwback feel to Augusta National. This is a unique tournament to call. It's a unique place to be, unique to anything else on the planet as far as I'm concerned in sports, and in so many good ways. It is right at the beginning of spring, and so when you come out of month after month of cold weather and snow and winter, and look, it was cold from coast to coast this past season, whether it was rainy or snowy, it was cold and wet wherever you were. And to get down to Georgia, and the azaleas are in full bloom, and the trees are green, and the grass is green, and the weather is warm, it really, to me, always feels like the first couple of days of spring. It's like spring has finally arrived. And then you get down there, and it's held in such reverence by so many. You have so many past champions who come and congregate down there. So you get to see Jack Nicklaus. You get to see Gary Player competing in the par 3. You get to see Bernhard Langer and Fred Couples and Sandy Lyle and all these past champions who go out and compete the same week as so many of today's current pros do. It's cool from a historic standpoint because there's always a chance they catch lightning in a bottle. Fred Couples has had a run a few years back, and we all remember what Tom Watson did at the Open several years ago. It was one of the great stories in sport when he made a run Sunday and almost won himself a claret jug. That whole thing could happen every year at Augusta National. There's just something about the place that sets it apart as unique to sport. And when Tiger is competing and has a chance on Sunday to win, it is one of the most electric atmospheres anywhere. Football, basketball, I don't care the sport. There is just an electricity in the air. And it comes from everybody has to talk to everybody because they can't communicate with their phones. So you've got to actually turn to the guy next to you and say, can you believe what we're watching here? And that electricity just buzzes through the whole property. It's what I imagine watching sports on site in the 60s, 70s, and 80s would have largely been like, because you don't have the technology that distracts you from either the person next to you or the event in front of you. And that's what really makes that unique.
Yeah, and as a casual golf fan, I'm glad I woke up in time Sunday to flip it on and witness that from afar. And you mentioned, the hushed tones and how you call a event like the Masters. And I've actually heard you, quite a few times on the radio calling NFL games. So I bet if we looked at your heart rate, it'd be quite different calling those NFL games compared to the Masters, because you really get into those. So can you compare calling an NFL game to something at a pace like a golf tournament?
It's my heart rate probably isn't a whole lot different, because I'm so concerned when I'm calling golf that I'm going to screw it up, because I only do it 4 times a year. So
right.
I'm a little more nervous about the call I'm about to make, because I just want to make sure I'm doing it properly. I don't have those concerns as often in football as far as the mechanics of the call, because I've done so much football over the years that I can still screw up a call and have, but I don't worry about it from the standpoint of, am I going to screw it up because I use terminology wrong or I say something that isn't quite fitting in the call. That's not the case when it comes to football. I've got the terminology pretty much down for football. But it is an interesting thing. And look, if you've heard Mike Tirico's final call, if you've heard any of our calls from the golf course, you get excited when big things happen. And nobody says you shouldn't. And I think especially when Tiger's there, it deserves that kind of excitement. And Mike didn't hold back, and I certainly wouldn't hold back. I was on 12 when Tiger and Molinari and Finau got there on Sunday, and Francesco Molinari was leading the Masters at that point with 6, 7 holes to go, and he put the ball in the water, and the place went nuts. I mean, and I did not hold back on my call, because it was clearly one of the biggest moments of the entire tournament. And so you just know, like any other sporting event, you know when to elevate your call for the moment. You're not going to do that for a Thursday call when some guy goes into Rays Creek at hole 12, because, you know that doesn't really have a whole lot of bearing on what's happening on the green jacket on Sunday. You can't win the tournament on Thursday. You can lose it on Thursday, but you can win it or lose it both on Sunday, and that was a pivotal moment. And so you elevate your call for those moments. It's not quite the same frequency as you do football, because the sport doesn't lend itself to that. But those moments still exist, and you've got to be ready for them.
All right, Kevin. Well, the sports calendar rolls on. You mentioned you have a little bit of a breather now before getting ready for Big Ten baseball. Are you calling any Major League Baseball this year? And I also, if we're going to talk Major League Baseball, I want to get your thoughts on the Cubs, because we talked a couple of weeks back in Minneapolis about some of their woes, but they seem to have steadied it a little bit. So, calling any Major League games, and what are your thoughts on the Chicago Cubs?
Nothing in the first half of the schedule for Major League Baseball. Stay tuned for the second half of the schedule. But as far as the Cubs, it's been I try not to get too frustrated, because it's still early as a Cubs fan. But I will say this. It's not surprising, because they went out of their way and didn't make a whole lot of changes to their roster. And so, to the bullpen or anything else. So you look at the team, and in a large part, it's kind of what you expected it to be, because it's kind of the team that was there at the end of last season when things went south. I think they're better than they show. Their pitching needs to be better. And hopefully Darvish's last start is a sign of better things to come for him. You can't be much worse or less productive than he was last year. You can hopefully hope that the Quintana moves have been the moves that you want to see from him over the last couple of weeks, because that's certainly been something that has been a concern for the Cubs, is the fact that Jose Quintana has not been able to put together the numbers that he did at times last year, but he was really dominant against the Marlins the other night. So that's a good sign, hopefully, for them. I think the offense will score a lot of runs, despite the fact that Bryant and Rizzo are having slow starts to the season. They'll catch fire at some point. So as long as they can pitch, I think they'll be okay. You've seen the Brewers have some issues, despite having Hader in their bullpen, with what they have in the pen, and I think that's encouraging, although they club the ball probably better than the Cubs. The Cardinals might be the best team in the division, and we'll see how that pans out. Although the Brewers have had their number early, so I'm trying not to push the panic button. It's April, but there are signs that they may not be great.
Yeah, I think we're both in a little better place than we were a couple weeks ago when it was like DEFCON 5 of the Cubs. All right, before we wrap up, I want to test your sports versatility as much as possible, and we've pretty much touched on everything except college football. And since you call college football for us, and like we said, call NFL on the radio, I want to get your thoughts on maybe a player that you saw last year in Big Ten play that translates well to the NFL with the NFL draft coming up in just over a week here. Do you have any names that jump out at you?
Well, the first name that comes to my mind is Nick Bosa. I think Nick Bosa is an NFL player right now, and he will be very soon. And I think he'll be a very productive NFL player very soon. You're talking about likely the highest ranked Big Ten player drafted coming up. So this is not exactly a ledge I'm crawling out on that isn't very sturdy. But I do think when you talk about a Big Ten player that's going to make an impact early for an NFL team, to me, Nick Bosa is the first name that jumps to mind. I think Nick Bosa has all the tools. I think he's a stud. I'm excited to see what he can do. And I also think Dwayne Haskins is going to be the first Big Ten quarterback drafted in the first round in a long time, and I think he's going to make some team very happy. So I know I went 2 Ohio State guys, but those are the 2 that I think of. When I think about this draft coming up, Nick Bosa is the first Big Ten name that I think of. And Dwayne Haskins, from a quarterback standpoint, is going to give the Big Ten something that the league hasn't had in a while, and that's a first-round quarterback, and I'm excited to see what he can do at the next level, too.
Yeah, I'd almost forgotten about that. Wasn't that like Kerry Collins or something the last
Yeah, it was.
That's wild.
Yep. It's been a long, long time since we saw a Big Ten quarterback drafted in the first round, and Dwayne Haskins, barring some huge surprise, and I can't imagine what that would take to keep him out of the first round. Barring that, I think we'll certainly see the first Big Ten quarterback taken in decades in the first round in this draft.
All right, Kevin, last thing, and it's more of a statement than a question. I saw you tweeted that you do not watch Game of Thrones.
I don't.
Neither do I. I stand in solidarity with you on that. I feel like we're a dwindling group, but Sunday was rough for me after the Masters, just trying to relate on social media because I didn't understand any of the references.
Yeah, and it's not I'm opposed to it. It's just one of those things I never started doing, and by the time it got rolling, I just, it felt like it was too late to catch up. I think it's season 8 is the season that's going on, 7 or 8.
I think so.
And I've never really, it's been one of those things where I'm like, I can't really catch up with this. So do I start now, or do I just say, I've missed out? And I feel like it's something I kind of would like. It's sort of a, sort of a sci-fi wheelhouse kind of thing. But I just, it was one of those, I never started it, and then life gets in the way, and, I don't have a lot of downtime to watch a lot of TV, so I never really got into it. But, man, the problem is the more you see about it, the more you think, I wish I were part of the whole conversation. I wish I could chime in, and there's nothing I can say. So, like I said the other night, on nights where Game of Thrones airs, Twitter's probably something I don't need to be a part of because it's always going to just have Game of Thrones references, and I'll just jump in and go, winter is coming, because that's really the only thing I understand about Game of Thrones.
Right, winter is coming, Night King, all that. That's all I really have in my holster. So, yeah, I'm kind of the same way. I never started it, and at this point, I'm like, I think I should just wait for it all to be over and then maybe try and catch up and binge it when I have some downtime. I think that's the only solution. And there's all these spoilers out there now anyway. Like, people tweet as if everyone's seen it, so I don't really know what to do. But, yeah, like you said, going to have to find some downtime. I know you don't have a lot of downtime, so I appreciate you jumping on and giving me about 20 minutes or so here. And I'm sure we'll catch up down the road, Kevin. Thanks.
Absolutely. I always enjoy talking with you. I look forward to being yet another repeat performer on this podcast.
All right. Thanks once again to Kevin for jumping back on and talking about a historic weekend in sports and talking about his vantage point from Augusta, Georgia. Definitely, once that happened last Sunday and Tigers' achievement was complete, I knew I had to try and get Kevin on. And as always, he was gracious and agreed to give us some of his time. So appreciate him. I mentioned at the top of the show, we will move on to our Call for the Culture segment with Colleen Degnan. We're doing it most weeks here on the show. talking intersection of sports and pop culture and kind of everything in between, talking current events, talking social media, and like I said, it's a fun, lighthearted discussion. So we'll get right to it. It's our Call for the Culture segment with Colleen, and it starts right now. All right, we're back in the lab with another Call for the Culture. It's Alex Roux here, joined by Colleen Degnan. Colleen, how are you feeling?
I'm feeling great. How are you?
All right. I feel like we talk about the weather all the time on this podcast. It's not like just to make small talk, but it's because the weather is truly wild here in Chicago. It was snowing, blizzard-like conditions on Sunday, and then I was out on a run on Monday. I don't know if you had the same experience, but it was probably the most extreme version of Chicago weather that I've experienced in my going on 3 years living here.
For once in my young adult life, I was very okay with the disgustingly cold weather on Sunday due to the amount of sports on sports that we had to watch.
Not just sports, like all-time Sunday in terms of kind of everyone being on the same page on social media, in terms of what they were watching on TV. And yeah, you're right. It was a case where the weather outside really, I think, played into it, at least in this part of the country, because everyone stayed in, parked on the couch.
It was incredible. Sunday's already my favorite day of the week, and so when I can just fully appreciate it in whatever I want to actually be doing, it's incredible.
All right, so take me through your Sunday. How did you enjoy kind of this all-time Sunday? We'll get into what that means in a second. Not to reflect too much, but I do want to touch on this because it really was unique.
I mean, it's just awesome. My roommate and I got up aggressively early, turned on the Masters right away. Kind of a blessing that the weather also made them start early. So we watched Tiger secure his 5th Masters title.
See, I didn't realize that they were starting early. I kind of woke up like mid-morning and heard my roommate watching it. My room is right by the TV, so I heard it through the wall, and I'm like, isn't this supposed to be in the afternoon?
Yeah.
Kind of yelled out to him, like, what's going on? Did they start already? And he said, yeah, because of the weather. So went back to sleep and then woke up in time for like the last 3 holes or so to also watch Tiger win the Masters. And I've said on this before, I've told you about it. I told Kevin Kugler this on our interview that preceded this discussion, that I'm not a huge golf fan, but like I'm going to appreciate history and watch something so significant. I mean, because it really was one of the biggest sports stories of the century, really, so far. I memean,
he's a 43-year-old guy coming back and winning his 5th title after an 11-year hiatus. And I found myself, I'm a pretty grateful sports fan, and I've never liked to root against other teams or against other players. But in his final round on Sunday, I was cheering so loudly when Koepka hit in the water or like Molinari roughed a shot. Like, I wanted Tiger to win so badly that I was loving seeing everybody else fail.
So looking at the bigger picture, I think this is a rare occurrence, especially in this day and age, because it truly was a day where everyone, or a lot of people, the vast majority of people were on the same page about multiple things. Like, almost everybody, I think, wanted to see Tiger win. Like, that's very rare in sports. Usually you at least have 2 factions of people rooting for 2 different teams. And, you move in to the afternoon and evening, you had a lot of people that were on the same page about Game of Thrones. We talked about it last episode. I'm not one of those people. I've not seen Game of Thrones. You're one of the rare people. I'd say it's even rarer. I'd argue you're even more unique, that you watch like 5 seasons and then just hit the eject button and said, I'm out. Like, I've never heard anyone doing that. But there were still huge groups of people that were on the same page about wanting Tiger to win, and then we're on the same page about being excited for Game of Thrones. I've never seen anything like it.
It was just such a good comeback story.
I've never seen anything like it on social media, with everyone, kind of building anticipation for the same thing.
And then afterwards, like, you hear Tiger talking about the last time he won, he got to hug his dad, who wasn't supposed to be there because of health issues, and like, as soon as he won, he immediately got his son in his arms. Like, goosebumps just erupting. Yeah. I mean, come on, talk about a human interest story that everybody wants to hear. Yeah,
it was cute. And for me, like I said, I'll appreciate the Tiger thing, and just as a sports fan, kind of relish that. But I don't know if you've seen the meme, the SpongeBob meme, because I'm all about SpongeBob memes.
Couldn't be less about SpongeBob.
Of Squidward. I don't know how. That's another thing that's unique. I don't know how you can't.
It's mind-numbingly dumb. That is how.
SpongeBob is one of the. All right, hold on. SpongeBob is one of the greatest, most intelligent shows of our generation. It's a show that honestly transcends childhood and adulthood, because it can appeal to, a kid's sense of humor and also sneak in some adult tidbits in there that you can appreciate now as a young adult. So I encourage you to go rewatch that and just face the fact that you're wrong about that. But anyway, what I'm getting to is...
I was too busy watching sports growing up, not cartoons.
Somehow I made time for both. But anyway, I'm the SpongeBob meme where you've probably seen it circulating even if you're not a fan, where Squidward's in his house and he's looking out through his barred window at Patrick and SpongeBob having fun jellyfishing, and Squidward is just sulking in his own misery that he's not involved. That's how I felt about being a non-Game of Thrones fan, watching All Day Sunday, not only in anticipation, but as the show went on, the memes that came afterwards, and me not understanding what these memes are
honestly,
and what the references are. And now it's just discouraging me to watch it because I feel like everything's being spoiled.
I understand that I'm probably hated by 95% of people because I am so not a bandwagon fan, but I watched it because my roommate loves it. And then you're right, culturally, it's kind of nice to be in reference. And this last season, all of the characters that I had met sporadically all of a sudden came back. So I actually kind of knew what was going on. And low-key, the cinematography in Game of Thrones is awesome. So if nothing else, watch it for the cool special effects.
Well, at the very least, you have that frame of reference, like you said, of knowing some of the characters, and then you can probably piece together what these memes are talking about. I have no idea what's going on. They all have these weird, fantasy names, and now I feel like I'm getting a warped picture in my head of what these characters are just because of my Twitter timeline and all the jokes that are, being related to not even Game of Thrones. Like, they'll be comparing the Office meme with Dwight Schrute to some of these characters, and
right.
Now I'm starting to
I do feel on the inside, and I like it.
I feel like I'm watching the show from afar through the lens of social media.
Yeah,
it's just strange.
That sucks.
Before we move on from this epic Sunday that we had and look ahead to some more epic weekends we got coming up, I do have to...
But before that, in the middle of the Masters and Game of Thrones, thank God for the weather issue, because then we got to watch Portland secure its first playoff win.
Hold on. You're getting ahead of yourself. I needed to call out one more... I know you're excited about the Blazers, and we can get to it in a second, but I needed to call...
completely stealing my thunder.
I need to call out one more thing about Tiger, and it's actually has a Big Ten tie. It's Ohio State AD Gene Smith tweeted a congratulations to the GOAT, Tiger Woods, with the GOAT emoji, and it's just funny being the Ohio State athletic director, alma mater of Jack Nicklaus. I think he got a little blowback by some of the homers in Scarlet and Gray. So I thought that was funny.
Yeah, with Tiger approaching Nicklaus's record.
He probably wasn't thinking about that, and maybe he's a bigger Tiger fan. I just thought it was funny.
I think a lot of even bigger fish in the sea were tweeting about Tiger, both our current president and former president, as well as...
That's another example of everyone being on the same page. That almost never happens. And I think we can, at least I don't know about you, but I think that not knowing about golf, in depth, I still think that Tiger probably has to be the greatest golfer of all time, just because the competition now is so much stiffer than it was in Jack Nicklaus's day. Now there's probably double digits, over a dozen people that could go out and win a major. Back in Jack Nicklaus's day, there was him, maybe a couple other guys. So
I think you're a little off.
The playing field is I think much more even now. So
I do think you could make a fair argument that he's the greatest golfer of all time, but that golden age back of Palmer and Trevino and Nicklaus, come on, you can't just completely put them down. You don't they're classics.
This is where my golf debate ends because I'm not qualified to get
tap
into
out.
This,
just
so.
take my word on this.
All right, now since I know you're excited to get into it, we can talk about the Blazers. It's kind of been a organic movement on this podcast, just talking about the Blazers because of your fandom, and now, who knows, it might turn into something special and something that we can talk about into late May, perhaps, if they keep playing like this.
Oh my God, one can dream.
As of this taping, up 2-0 on the OKC Thunder. Take me through it. How has Portland done it? I didn't realize that...
3 seasons.
Yeah, they hadn't won a playoff game. They made the playoffs, but had been swept out 2 years in a row.
Yes. So this is awesome. Not only have we won 1, but now 2. So now we have to go down and play in OKC. But the Dame-Russ rivalry is amazing and completely has fueled Dame, and he's been trumping Russ. Now I'm a little bit more nervous to play on their court, but we've played really solidly without our main center, Nurk, who's been injured after that horrific leg incident a couple weeks ago.
You got Canner now. He's been stepping up.
Canner's been playing money. CJ did amazing. Him and Dame together are just indescribable. And
A lot of likable guys on
Dame's
Portland.
been hitting shots from like 30 feet out.
Have you listened to CJ McCollum's podcast?
Yes.
He's got a good pull-up podcast, I think it's called. He's likable. Obviously, we talked about Dame in depth on this show, and he's got his own thing going. He's a rapper. I watched his whole interview with Taylor Rooks. I know we addressed that interview last week, but I watched the whole thing last night. I like him even more now. Like he's a really down-to-earth guy like we talked about. And you mentioned Russ Westbrook. Those are the two guys that, when we said it last week, that are kind of true to their mid-major market teams, that they want to try and get it done and don't want to ring chase, so to speak. So, yeah, I like the competitive edge. I like them going at it. Russ is always getting these little shoving matches with guys. You know, he's never going to fight, but
No, he chirps for sure.
But he'll, act like he's going to get up and do something, and then Steven Adams holds him back.
Yeah,
So
and like I don't get me wrong. Like if OKC wasn't playing Portland, I'd for sure be cheering for them because Russ went to UCLA, and I'm a Bruins fan. And then Steven Adams is a Kiwi, and I spent a good chunk of my life in New Zealand, or not. That's a little aggressive. 6
like a
months,
semester or something?
6 months.
You studied abroad there?
But yeah.
Okay.
So obviously, I'm like, I do like them more than a lot of other teams. But it's one of those frustrating things that, of course, the main talking points across so many other media spectrums is like, oh, what is OKC doing wrong that is making them lose? Versus like, okay, can we acknowledge a little bit that like Portland's doing a few things right under granted circumstances, but we'll just keep playing well.
Well, I think it goes beyond Russ and Dame as far as similarities go. Like Portland and OKC are similar markets, right? They're the only pro teams in town. Portland, I think, is kind of taking over the Pacific Northwest, NBA, I would say, average fan. I don't know how former Sonics fans feel, but
That's
I know they're not
coming from the Pacific Northwest.
I know they're not rooting for OKC after being, or at least the vast majority aren't, after being uprooted from Seattle. So, these fan bases, I think, are similar. Both arenas really get into it. They're going to do the playoff thing where they all wear the same shirts in the arena and really get into it. It's kind of a college vibe. So, yeah, it should be a fun rest of the series. And maybe if Portland can close it out, we'll be able to talk about them for a few more weeks.
I mean, across the playoffs right now, obviously the Bucks are dominating, so, that's not that surprising. But the Warriors ended up losing by 31-point lead.
They blew the 3-1 lead a couple years ago in the series against the Cavs, and then they blew the 3-1-point lead.
Yeah, 31-point lead.
Against the Clippers. Patrick Beverley on the Clippers, a Chicago guy.
He was being a nuisance.
I love guys like that.
He's annoying.
From afar. I don't want
you don't want to play them.
Playing. But it's amusing, especially getting under a guy like KD, Kevin Durant's skin.
Getting him fired up is hilarious.
Yeah, Kevin Durant.
His temper.
Kevin Durant has become kind of a villain that it's fun to poke at.
Totally
lately.
agree.
I don't want to get too deep into the NBA playoffs right now, just because it's the first round.
It's early, but who knows? It could be my only experience.
Yeah. So what's interesting with the NBA playoffs is kind of the lack of parity that we see, or that you at least assume is going to happen. Like, we assume the Warriors are going to at least go to the finals. We assume that it's just tough for these 7 or 8 seeds, the bottom seeds, to beat a top seed. It's only happened once before in NBA history, when I think the Warriors beat the Mavericks over 10 years ago. But on the flip side, the NHL playoffs are completely different. We have 8 seeds upsetting number 1 seeds quite often, including just this past couple of days. I don't know if you saw another reference to the Big Ten city of Columbus. The Blue Jackets swept Tampa Bay Lightning.
That's what you've been telling me. That's incredible.
Have you been following NHL playoffs? Are you
I've been a little bit eclipsed by NBA playoffs to be focusing on Stanley Cup.
You're not a hockey gal at all. Do you have any teams that you root for?
I'm sporadically a hockey gal, but I'm not right now.
I feel like Southern California is a hockey hotbed. Like, it's that kind of the
I went
Southwest.
to Kings games.
Yeah, the Kings had a nice run for a number of years, and hockey's kind of sprung up in that youth scene down there, that it's become kind of a popular, as popular as it is in the Chicagoland area. So.
True. It's just I should invest more being in Chicago, but alas, tell me.
The window's kind of over, though, now for the Blackhawks. I mean, they might, who knows, maybe they'll get one more run out of Patrick Kane and Jonathan Toews, but they've missed the playoffs last couple of years, haven't won a playoff series in 4 years. Back to the Blue Jackets sweeping Tampa. It's interesting because the Tampa Bay Lightning were by far the best team in the regular season. Okay. So if you go by points, they had like 20 more points than any other NHL teams. And so it was obviously a huge shock that not only the Blue Jackets won, but they swept them. I think it's the first time the Blue Jackets have won a playoff series. But what was even more interesting, I guess, from a social media perspective, millennial perspective, that we hold, is the tweet that the Tampa Bay Lightning sent out.
Please read
to their fans and followers after.
Please read it.
Yeah, I'll read it out. Did you see this when it came out?
Yes.
Very strange. Okay. Here's the tweet that the Lightning sent out at 9 o'clock Central Time the night they lost the playoffs. So, like, within an hour or so after they lost. We don't have any words, and we know you don't want to hear them. We understand your anger, your frustration, your sadness, everything you're feeling. We get it. Insert, like, sad piano playing, violin in the background. This isn't the ending we imagined, and certainly not the one we wanted. Thank you for being there the entire way. Thoughts? Colleen.
It's so dramatic. I thought at first that this was like a fan account. I was like, this is no way coming from.
Right. And, like, you know, as if you're a Lightning fan, that probably fits the level of despair you're feeling at the time. Just being someone who, like, runs these type of accounts and somebody who's on that side of things, I just think it's funny because I'm like, who's relaying this message? Is it my counterpart at the Lightning? Like, is it just some 20-something guy behind a keyboard? Did the GM direct this statement? Is it a PR employee? Like, who is directing this statement? It just seems like something that would be better.
This is a PR. This is a press release, 100%.
But, like, it's not made clear that, you know. It's just like social media is such a
wrong forum.
It's such a you know, kind of unclear medium that it's hard to know, like, who's saying what unless it's like a direct quote. So I just think it probably would have been better, you know, here's my unsolicited advice, just to have backed off for, you know, a day or two. Everyone in the organization should get on the same page. Well, yeah, you know, you don't have to either say nothing or just, like, do a more normal statement. Get everyone in the organization on the same page, because just knowing how sports employees and people are, I guarantee there was somebody who didn't sign off on this and is now pissed off or something.
Really?
Like, I mean, I would bet, just because there's a lot of people. I know, but there's a lot of people behind the scenes that are like, they probably saw this and like okay, who, Brad over there sent this out? Like, we definitely didn't approve
Brad.
this. Yeah, Brad or Chad sent this out. So I don't know. Like, that's the thing, is like the beauty of Twitter and social media in general is that you don't have to say anything, right? You can let the fans kind of vent or whatever. You let them get out. It's not like a press conference where you're required to answer questions. You can just take your foot off the gas and let things kind of simmer down a little bit. So I just thought it was funny. Like, it was definitely melodramatic. I don't hate it. Like, if I was...
I don't hate it. I just think they chose the wrong medium to tell this message on.
Yeah, it's...
Way too many words.
I think it'd be better if, like, the GM or whoever, or the president or the owner or the coach says something like that. I love when
teams... Or a player.
I love when teams or coaches, like, are accountable and say, hey, look, this is unacceptable, instead of trying to spin and gloss over things or try and put a spin zone on it.
Yeah.
I like when they're like, yeah, you know,
honest.
We're disappointed, we're angry, whatever. Anyway.
For sure. But
I just had to bring that up.
No,
that's like our worlds colliding here. It's pretty good. And since we're covering all the sports right now, pretty much, let's talk about NFL, because, like, with the playoffs of the NHL and the NBA going on, you know the NFL can't be overshadowed. They had to have their time.
Oh, no. They have to always have their 5 minutes of fame. Their schedules were released this week.
Yes,
so that's some pretty exciting news. We have my Green Bay Packers opening up at your Soldier Field, the Bears hosting us. So.
Yeah, we talked about it, I think, not on the podcast, but just in the office, because this segment didn't exist yet, but how disappointed I was and how angry I was after that opening night Packers-Bears game last year, where the Bears looked like it was a new era, and it did turn out to be a great season, but it looked like they were just going to, you know, kind of stomp on the Packers game one, exert their dominance, and then Aaron Rodgers came back from the dead and overcame that 20-point lead or whatever. So hopefully that doesn't happen again.
No, and yes, it will. Now we've got a new coach. They're aligned. We have a nice QB coach alignment.
The Packers needed a news dump to take away from their last month or so. That's been kind of rough.
Yeah.
I need to read that article still. Have you read that?
Yeah, it's really interesting.
Okay, I need to get into it. It's been, like, sitting in my tabs waiting to be read. I've kind of got the Cliff's Notes version of it, but it's interesting.
Some other highlights, though. Per our almost winning city, the Packers will play in San Francisco, taking on Jimmy G and the 49ers.
There we go.
Jimmy G will be back.
If he can stay healthy.
He will.
The 49ers and probably Nick Bosa, right?
Oh,
Ohio
yes,
State.
yes.
Seems like they might draft him. We'll see in the next week or so, but
Yeah, that'll be exciting to see where all of our Big Ten guys lie.
Yeah, so we can talk draft next week a little bit.
For sure.
That'll be fun. We'll get into that. But back to the schedule, one trip that I've been eyeing, or at least date I've been eyeing since it came out a few months ago, is when the Bears will play the Raiders in London, in jolly old London.
Are you trying to go?
I want to go. We'll see. It's on October 6th. It's kind of in the meat of our football
that would
season here. But, maybe I can take one weekend,
Yeah.
Who knows? We'll see.
Do it.
Have you been to London?
No, I haven't.
Okay, so I've been briefly, but what's interesting about this is...
Can we charge it to the department?
I don't think so. I don't think I can get a work trip out of this one. We'll see. They'll probably already be mad at me for missing the weekend if I decide to go. But the thing about London, this particular game, usually they play at the Wembley Stadium, which is kind of their national stadium and the big one. This one with the Bears and Raiders is being played at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, so a different, smaller stadium in London. I don't think they've done that before. I could be wrong, but just an interesting little wrinkle there. I don't know. What do you think about the NFL playing 2 to 4 games or whatever they do every year?
Yeah, I know. And then what? Are the Chargers or the Rams playing in Mexico? There's another.
Not sure. They had to cancel the Mexico game last year. If you
but
remember,
it's back on for this year. I think it's kind of cool. I mean, I think NFL is a worldwide phenomenon, and it's a cool excuse for teams to get to do something like that and get their fans everywhere.
Like if you're the team giving up a home game, it's not so great.
Yeah, that's
the Raiders. I'm fine with it because the Raiders are giving up a home game. We don't have to. I'm on the Raiders, obviously. The Bears don't have to play.
I identify with all of my teams as well.
The Bears don't have to play in Oakland, so I'm fine with it. But,
neutral sites are fine to me.
Yeah.
It would be...
I do like growing the game. I mean, you never know, 10 years down the road, how viable the NFL is going to be just with all the challenges facing it. So I think they're smart to grow it.
And, seeing new stadiums is so cool.
Well, to talk about it, these London games for years has been, is a team going to move there, right?
That'd be so hard.
It'd be weird. I don't know if the travel would work out as far as...
Yeah, you would have to have your entire, first half of your season home and then second half in the States.
A game in New York... Or a team in New York playing a road game in London is not that different than a team in New York playing a road game in LA.
Yeah, for sure.
But a team in LA or anywhere in the West,
yeah,
there would have to be some really convenient or really creative, scheduling.
And it'd be expensive, but also the NFL is not really
I don't think they're worried about it.
But also a huge talk with all of the worst NFL jerseys coming out and talk of the baby blue new Chargers uniforms.
Those are the best. Yeah,
I think they're great. Yeah. But you brought up a good point. Michigan State.
Yeah, we got to talk about Michigan State's jersey reveal. So you hadn't seen this until today.
No.
I brought this up as a potential topic.
This is breaking news to me.
Yeah.
I'm pulling it up again.
I think on Friday or Saturday. Maybe Saturday, right before their spring game this past weekend.
When I first see that.
See, I work for BTN, and I'm not gonna go drag them on social media or be rude or go over the top or anything like that.
This is gonna be straight critic.
So I didn't tweet anything about it or share my thoughts, but we can do some constructive criticism about Michigan State's new jerseys. If people haven't seen them, Colleen, describe what you're looking at right now.
Okay, so they've got their classic-ish looking deep forest green majority color on their jerseys.
Yep.
But now they have in a neon green state going from shoulder to shoulder pretty much. And then the white number. And then matching neon green pants.
Yes.
So right off the bat, I'm thinking I'm looking at Oregon. This is something
that was
like
the
Ducks.
comparison a lot of people came up with originally.
This is 100%, it
does seem to be from the Oregon template.
Yeah, which I understand is maybe cutting edge.
Also, the neon they've been working in with their basketball jerseys recently,
right?
Which I have never been that much of a fan of. The thing about it is, I think Michigan State has such a really classic and unique look with their dark green. There aren't a lot of college teams like that. I like when they work in the gold. That's what I like. If they're gonna go alternate color, work in the gold trim that they do. Kind of the bronze look.
Yeah,
they do. It's more of the Spartan theme.
But neon.
Not a fan.
They're space Spartans.
And then on top of that, I don't understand if they're doing neon why they keep the numbers white.
Agree.
Right.
But now they just have a lot of colors.
Yeah, that's 4 colors.
4 colors.
Or wait, 3 colors?
No, there's 4.
4.
Yeah.
On one jersey. So.
That seems like a lot.
No, wait, it's 3. White, neon, dark. Anyway,
And black.
Yeah, I guess if they have black trim.
They have black Nike swoosh.
So. Yeah, I would just go, if you're going to go neon, go all out, right? Go full neon green. Like,
I don't. Are you a more classic uniform guy, or do you like
I'm not.
the cutting
I mean,
edge?
I like the new ones. I like new looks that could also end up being timeless. That's very tricky. It's a tough tightrope to walk, but some schools can pull it off. I'm not somebody who's like, oh, I love this classic, look with no names on the back, and it's been like that for
That's like
4
Wisconsin
years.
basketball jerseys. It kind of drives me nuts.
I like tweaking a little bit. I like improving, updating, modernizing. I think Michigan State has done a great job of that with their classic jerseys.
To say one thing, though, having a neon color, it's a little cocky. You got to play really well to wear neon.
It's going to stand out for sure. So they asked, I think it was either Joe Bocci, I think it was Joe Bocci that we had on for a spring game interview this past weekend. He was kind of introducing the jerseys and talking about it on BTN. And he had a good point. It's going to pop under the lights.
It will pop under the lights, but I'm just saying, if you're wearing neons, you got to be running fast.
Yeah, so constructive criticism for MSU. It's okay. I think we can have our opinions on that. Without, everyone gets those jerseys every once in a while that they can just run out there, and maybe they become like a cult favorite. They get criticized before, and then it's the best win in program
history. The day
history.
the Badgers come out with a neon uniform will be in the year 3000.
I don't think that's going to happen. So we'll see. Anyway, before wrapping up, let's talk a little current events. Talked about playoffs already. Talked about schedule release. Talked in depth about the Masters and Game of Thrones. We have to now bring up what is also a multi-week event, and that is Coachella that is going on out in your neck of the woods in Southern California.
Have you ever been to India?
What's that?
That's where it is.
Oh, the town?
Yeah.
No, actually I have. I've been
Palm Desert.
I've been to Palm Springs. I've driven through, you drive from LA to Palm Springs and you see the town Coachella. That was actually the first time I realized that that's like an actual town, not just the festival. So I've been through that area.
India.
It'd be a nice place to be this time of year, weather-wise, and I've seen on social media people there that, in our circles. So my question to you regarding Coachella is that, has it jumped the shark? Like, has it gone from being the must-see place to now kind of, is it lame? Is it...
I know. It seems not as...
Did it get too popular for its own good? Is it now lame, like kind of a parody of itself?
I mean, I've never been. I've only ever been to Stagecoach in India, which is the country version of Coachella, when I was in high school once. And the whole idea rocks. I mean, a weekend in the desert, listening to a bunch of major headliners, great food, beverages. Was
it always 2 weekends?
No.
This is new.
It's newer. It's the past few years.
You get too much of a good thing, and it turns, it spoils people.
So, in one sense, yes, but now I know people that have gone year after year after year, and they're still loving it every year. So I really don't know if I, as a third-party viewer here, can say it's lame. It does seem a lot more basic in the sense that a lot more people go. And, it's not like it's getting any cheaper. So, I think people are really going because they love all of the music. And, you get major names. And it's very, I think, iconic now. No. You have people, loving and going for fashion and seeing what the cool other aspects of Coachella are now with their different pop-up events and things like that. So I don't think I can sit here being like, that's lame, just because everyone on my IG feed was there.
Yeah,
but
the only reason I brought that up is because I feel like in my echo chamber on social media, it's kind of been getting clowned a little bit. I don't know why. I can't point to anything. That's the only reason I'm asking the question if it's lame.
Yeah.
I guess that the difference this year, like you said, is that it's 2 weekends maybe.
Well, it's been 2 weekends, I think, for a few years.
Okay.
But still.
Okay. Well, if people still enjoy going.
And they're still getting major names.
More power to them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they still have good headliners and all that. So neither of us are going to Coachella.
We'll be here, yeah.
But you are.
Oh, no, actually, I won't be here.
No, you are going. you have big plans this weekend. What's going on?
I'm going to Austin. I'm the dumb child of the family who, when I realized I had a day off in April, I immediately booked a flight, not knowing that it was a holiday weekend and I should probably be spending it with my family. But
you can celebrate.
That's okay.
In Austin.
It's going to be great. It's going to be 85 and sunny.
Future Big Ten city, Austin, Texas, maybe. I don't know.
That'd be legit.
I know. Just expansion talks gonna bubble up eventually, and come on down, Texas and Oklahoma. Who knows? Like that. That'd be pretty sweet.
That would be super. I'll do some rallying while I'm there.
Yeah, okay.
But it's gonna be 85 and sunny.
I like Austin. I've literally been once, and for probably 9 hours. It was like an extended layover, so I got to look around a little bit, see the city. I'm jealous that you're going for a
9
full
hours.
weekend.
Yeah, it's gonna
I
be
saw all
great.
the main parts, but
It's gonna be great. It's gonna be relaxing, and
you gonna do any running down there? Any jogs, or is it gonna be all kind of?
I'm for sure bringing my running shoes. Yeah, I mean, I feel inspired.
It's like a good run. They have the water, right?
Yeah,
the river,
we're doing a boat one day, but
I was gonna say because
post Boston Marathon this week.
Post Boston Marathon, it's great. Usually this time of year, great running weather. Like
they
I said,
got horrible running weather though again.
Well, I went on a couple of runs this week, literally hours after the snowstorm. The snowstorm. So it was fine. It was crazy.
Yeah.
Like we probably got 6 inches of snow Sunday, and I was running Monday afternoon and Tuesday afternoon, and it was fine. Like there was no ice or anything. So that's wild. But yeah, just want to close by talking about the Boston Marathon, which was in the rain and cold, apparently. I didn't watch much of it. 2 years in a row?
2 years in a row, that really, really poor weather.
I can relate. I've never run a marathon, but I have done a few half marathons, looking for my pats on the back and applause from the audience. And I did 2 years in a row where it was pouring down rain, and it was cold and windy.
Ugh,
it wasn't that bad because it keeps you cool. And it kind of numbs you. Like, you just are just like, all right, I'm in it, whatever.
See, like, I'm much more favorable to it be incredibly hot, which I've gotten some luck doing halves in incredibly heat, but I
was going to say, as I'm patting myself on the back for doing a half, you've literally done double that. You've done a full marathon. You did it, when was that?
In October.
Right.
I did, and I'm the psychopath who had to run these same long runs in the same outfit for the 3 months leading up to it, and had to wear the same outfit on that day because I had some weird superstition. And on the day I ran it, it was like 40 and cold, and I'm in shorts, half caps, a tank top, and refused to wear any other layers because, like, I'm a psycho.
That's when the superstition might backfire. You got it done, though. I
got it done. I think I finished with purple lips because I was so cold. But, life goal of mine is to do the Boston Marathon, but clearly going to have to work on my time, seeing as, this year, it was nuts. The end of the men's elite, 1 second victory margin.
Really? Wow,
Yeah.
So it was a close race.
It's close, but the guy who won his third year in a row winning.
Yeah, those people blow my mind, just like the athleticism. Like, they're running at that pace that I couldn't even do 1 mile at. They're running for a full 26. It's crazy.
Yeah. But,
I shout out mad respect to the people who, like, poop their pants and keep running.
Just keep going.
I remember a winner of the U of I marathon. That's the one that I have done in recent years. One of the winners one year just pooped their pants and kept on motoring. They're like, I need that prize money. Wow. And you could, like, see it in the picture. And I'm like, hey, you know what? You got to make a choice. And I choose that bag. Yeah. I choose to secure the bag. And instead of stopping for, the porta potty or whatever. So
not needed.
This ended in a weird way, but I had to give that shout out.
But yes.
Let's wrap it up on that note.
Yeah, lifelong goals though. So yeah, we'll go off of this pod with some motivation to run faster.
Enjoy Austin, Texas. Have fun.
And have a good weekend too.
All right. Happy Easter. See you next time.
See you next time.
All right. Thanks once again to Colleen and Kevin for joining me on this week's episode of the Take 10 podcast. Keep it locked and subscribe if you haven't already for future episodes of the show, because we have plenty of NFL draft talk coming up next week, hopefully from both the media side and the athlete side as well. So keep it locked for that. And like I said, subscribe. Please rate, comment, review the show if you haven't already. We're available on iTunes, Google Play, and Podbean, and also YouTube on the BTN YouTube page. So plenty of places to find Take 10 podcasts, so you got no excuse if you miss out. All right, final thank yous. Thanks to everyone out there for listening. Thank you to Wes White and Julie Browner for producing the show week after week. Really appreciate it. And as spring keeps moving here, we will talk to you soon here on the Take 10 podcast.